Bitcoiners are the remnant. Buddy of mine, Svetsky, wrote this for Bitcoin Magazine, and I want to talk about it for a few minutes. It's probably something I'll do a multi-part series on. I'm also going to have him on the show. There's so much to talk about. There's so many good lines in here. So let's just dive right into it. This is the Bitcoin Basics Podcast. I'm your host, Colin Stuckert. We got a beautiful sunny day with my windows actually open where I'm recording this. It's not every day I can hear the trees rustling and the cars driving. I wish it was just the trees rustling. But at least in this area, you don't hear a lot of dogs barking, which is pretty much a constant in Austin. So this piece, Bitcoiners Are The Remnant, is based on Isaiah's Job, which was an article written, I think, in the early 1900s. I haven't read the article. I actually started, but I got to finish it. It's pretty long. But what he does is he takes bits of that article and he talks about them in this article. So I'm going to be talking about bits that I took from his article that he wrote about, taking bits from another article that I think was actually based on a story from the Bible that author was talking about, writing about. And this is the fascinating thing about human knowledge and the idea of like original ideas. There's no such thing as an original idea. Everything is stacked upon something else. That's what human knowledge is. I mean, every time you use 1 + 1 = 2, you are building on top of whoever figured that out. And if you use that in your business plan or to build a building or to design a bridge, if you're using basic math, do you have to give credit to, the early humans that discovered mathematics, or every time you use the number 0, do you have to give credit to the guy that discovered 0, which was actually discovery. Most people don't know about that. It's pretty fascinating. I think it was an Indian guy that did it and revolutionized numeracy and, everything, accounting, math. It's pretty fascinating. So without that, let's get right into a few quotes here. I highly recommend reading the article, which you can find on the Bitcoin Magazine website. Here's a few quotes. Let's talk about them. As a Bitcoiner, diluting your message and your mission to appeal to the masses is the greatest fraud you can commit. It's a pathway to emptiness, to regret, and to deep meaninglessness, into the abyss of the masses. Those who want the best for you are by definition those who demand the best of you. He's talking about Bitcoin here and some of the toxic maximalism you see. It's just funny. It's just people being kind of weak, I feel like, and wanting safe spaces and all that other BS. It's just a typical outcropping of a fiat paradigm in a world where people go online and spend their hours all day bitching and moaning and crying and basically saying that other people should treat me a certain way. Kind of funny, actually. And Svetsky's a pretty hardcore, outspoken person, which definitely appeals to my heartstrings. So he gets into democracy here, which I actually want to have him come on and talk about. Now, somebody that hasn't really paid attention to politics that much up until about 2020, and I still don't really care about it. I think it's mostly a shit show, a scam. I think voting is a waste of time. I get that we have to have something. So I actually want to talk to him about the following passage. I find democracy to be abhorrent. And it's frustrating that the source of human flourishing and progress, i.e. free exchange, property rights, and individual ingenuity and productivity, has been conflated with democratic rule. The reality is far harsher. Democracy is more accurately the parasite which has benefited from the prosperity of free markets and continued to leach resources, capacity, and energy alongside human flourishing. Democracy engaged in the West as a reaction by the masses to the prosperity created by the free markets of the remnant. The rising tide lifted all the boats, and with it came a wave of new capital that the parasitic masses could feed on. Hence, they created, rather mindlessly, a more sophisticated way of stealing from people. The idea, give the remnant enough space to innovate the produce, and then just take all their shit after the fact. The way of the masses is always a tragedy of the commons. Democracies create legal public monopolies run by popularity contest winners with no skin in the game. They appeal to and always devolve the rule of the masses, where morality and the consequences of stupidity are socialized and often carried or paid for by the productive members of society. The sales pitch sounds nicer on the surface, but in reality, it's a much greater burden on society because it, A, has the capacity to last, and B, empowers the masses to think they're somehow in charge, while they proceed to blindly obey their parasitic overlords. Bitcoin is for the remnant. Crypto is for the masses. The masses are generally on the wrong side of history because of the madness inherent in crowds. They only find themselves right when it's the default position, after the truth, forged forth by the remnant, finally prevails. It's just so good. It's so freaking good. I need to like tweet some of this actually and tag them. It's just so good. It's just one of those articles that everybody needs to read. Yeah, totally. I need to do a multi-part series on this and also have him on the show. I'm not even going to comment on this. I'm going to just let you maybe re-listen to what I just read and then also read the article yourself and figure out what it means for you. Read it multiple times. Read the article he's referring to as he writes this. I really like the idea. May have to make some shirts around that or something and think about that more. That's going to be it for today's short show. Make sure you get on the Better Human newsletter, which is becoming the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life, actually. I'm investing more and more time and energy into it. I want to eventually get down to a daily newsletter that's just amazing and full of awesomeness. So you don't want to miss that. Right now, it's every 2 to 3 days because, like, as a one-man army, that's all I can handle. I want to get it to a daily show. I'll probably have to hire a couple people to make that happen. And if you want to support my work, you can actually subscribe and support the newsletter. And I'll have subscriber-only benefit stuff coming out in the future. But in the meantime, 50% goes to the Better Human Co. Direct Impact Bitcoin Fund, which now has around $1,500 at the time of this recording. So thank everybody for contributing to that. And then 50% goes to supporting my work so that I can actually feed the fam, because this is what I'm now doing with my life. So thanks for watching and or listening. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.